Welcome to the Rebel's Edge, where it's so good out there that even Elon Musk has good news. Bang!
There it is. It's official. John, how great was that draft? I know we're going to talk individually about it, but I mean, I don't know how many times I've watched drafts. I've probably watched almost every one of them since like 86. Mm-hmm. But they just get more fun all the time. I think my favorite moment was when that Alabama tackle, Lathan, knowing that the commissioner, who is a drip, but anyway, knowing that guy had just had back surgery, he still reached around and grabbed him and hugged him and lifted him way up in the air. And the commish was stumbling around for the rest of the night in the first round after that.
Pete, I saw the commish at the Hunt and Fish Club in New York.
Oh.
And of course, he had to come in with, 2 or 3 bodyguards. I mean,
just to stick out.
Yeah. Poser. I mean, there's a reason he had to come in with 2 or 3 bodyguards, because he sucks. That's why he had to come in with 2 or 3 bodyguards, because people mean to do him harm for the harm he's done with all kinds of things. But let's focus on the Rebel's Edge, Pete.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
He is Pete Najarian. I'm Jon Najarian. So send all the hate mail to me about how great the NFL commissioner is, whose wife, by the way, has a fake account that she posts stuff, a fake Twitter account, or X account, I guess it is now, Pete. But, let's let that go, right? All right. We always start off with the macro minute, and today is no exception. I'm going to say, Pete, that Bill Gross saying that people should be cautious on tech stocks, and he likes value stocks instead. Can't remember the last time Bill Gross really was outperforming anybody, Pete, but nonetheless, he's out there. And I'll say that the short interest in SPY and QQQ has gone up pretty high, Pete.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, Bill Gross, always interesting to listen to, although you heard the same thing you heard 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's always the same. I'm going to go real quick on this one, John. How about this? We waited all week last week for the PCE report on Friday. It came, it went, didn't seem to change a whole lot. Nobody really paid attention. So I'm going to go with the macro of, hey, this is all about earnings right now. Obviously, the Fed, we've got enough information to know that the Fed's going to do what the Fed's going to do. That's a pause. That's what's going to happen. That being said, the earnings absolutely are what's driving these markets up as well as down. And we had some huge numbers that came in at the end of the week that really helped give that NASDAQ an unbelievable move to the upside. So I think it's far more about the earnings right now than it is when we're looking at some of the data that the Fed's going to be looking at.
Well, right there with you, Pete. Yeah. And I'm betting that I might be right there with Pete when we hit fantastic futures.
Fantastic futures.
I think so.
Well, fantastic futures, Pete. I'm going to go with TNX. Could have gone with VIX, which, as you've correctly said, has been one that's been all over the place lately. But I'm going to go with TNX because that is basically what the CBOE uses as a 10-year interest rate tracker. And it's back down to 463, but it did hit 474 last week. So I'm thinking that one is the one that I'm paying attention to this week, Pete.
Rightfully so, although you're not right about one thing, about me being on the same. I'm still looking at copper, John, and it's absolutely amazing that every single day it hits another new 52-week high. And now we're back at 2-year highs from going back to April back in 2022. This number, 461 a pound. The copper has gone up this entire year, 2024. It's been on an unbelievable path and continues on that path. There's all the different reasons why, China being somebody who really needs as much as they possibly can because of what's going on with their economy. And then, of course, all the needs that we've got. So there's there's a lot going on behind the scenes. It's why it's moving the way it is. And I don't know that it's going to stop here. I think it's got plenty of room still to the upside. But at $4.60 a pound, this thing has made a heck of a move so far.
It's a huge one. And by the way, I'm going to play right off of your China comments, Pete, because, of course, Mr. Musk went over to China. And when he went over to China, apparently he cut some deal with Baidu, or what is it, Baidu, Pete?
Baidu.
I think it was. Yeah, Baidu, for full self-driving software rollout and a deal with them for mapping. So that's a pretty big trip for Mr. Musk to bring home a couple successes like that. And yeah, they did need them because Tesla had been battered all year. They'd lost hundreds of billions of dollars in market cap. But this certainly helped turn things around at Tesla, Pete. And I'm thinking that maybe it ain't over the squeeze for people that decided to stay short this thing.
Yeah, that's going to feel a lot of pain, John. And I think that when you look back to last week when they reported the earnings themselves were, pretty disappointing overall. But with the commentary about an inexpensive, more affordable EV coming in 2025, did sort of save the day. And it not only saved the day, John, the stock has gone in 1 week from 140 to 190.
Yep.
That's an incredible move for a very big, large cap stock like Tesla. It does tend to be a very volatile stock, and it's absolutely living up to that right now. It's unbelievable. By the way, this full service driving thing that's going on for them, what an unbelievable move we've taken off of that as well. You look at the volumes that are trading, the shares that are trading. There are some shorts out there for sure, John, and they're feeling that pain right now. That's something that sometimes you overstay your welcome, whether that's on the long side or the short side. And I think there's a lot of folks that were running on the short side of this one. They missed it on earnings. Now they've missed it again because Mr. Musk stepped up to the plate and delivered, and he delivered this whole thing with the full service driving. That's something that a lot of people have talked about. He's talked about the robo and everything else, but I think this is a very big deal for Tesla.
Absolutely it is. And full self-driving, or FSD, is a big deal for anybody that can actually accomplish it. There's a bunch of people out there that are trying, like Google and so forth, but nobody's got more map of the road and conditions and streets and all than Mr. Musk has. And that's one of the golden things in Tesla's quiver. Let's take a look, Pete, at Domino's Pizza, DPZ, because they delivered strong Q1 earnings. They surprised everybody, higher EPS, that's earnings per share, of course, and revenue, sales. So the company experienced growth in same-store sales, both domestically and internationally, Pete. There's really nothing not to like in this report, is there?
No, everything, absolutely everything. How about the fact they raised the dividend? That's another thing people really seem to love, right? On top of that, well, I think we'll buy back $1 billion shares as well, $1 billion worth of shares as well. So you look at the buybacks, you look at the dividend yield, you look also that they're having same-store sales growth, which is something pretty impressive for them. It's made new 52-week highs today. It is not that far away from all-time highs. I would say right now, Domino's is really positioned well in the economy that we're in right now, John, because what they do, how they do it, and they're playing to the customer in a great way right now, giving them that benefit of a little less expensive than it once was. I think they're going off of volume. They're doing an incredible job. This is a stock that has really absolutely exploded now to the upside.
Truly, and deservedly so, getting a lot of love today.
Yeah.
As is Pete Phillips, PHG, because this one up as much as 38% today. Now it's pulled back a little from that. But when I first saw it, Pete, I thought it was, okay, so these really are pretty damn good earnings. Best earnings in 9 years. But it's really about this settlement, I think, as well, because that kind of clears a lot of unknowns from the battlefield, if you will, because they'd been accused by many users that their sleep apnea treatment, you could call that a CPAP or whatever you want to call it, wasn't working properly and could be dangerous, of course. Well, to reach a $1.1 billion settlement, that clears a lot of those unknowns. And apparently it was less money than people thought, Pete.
Significantly less money than they thought, John, and the fact that it's finally done. I think that combination really is helpful. And oh, by the way, with that stock jumping up 27, 31%, whatever it might be at this point in time, that actually has added multiple billions to the market cap of the company as well. And we're talking about 7 times normal volume in the first couple hours of the day. They normally trade about 1 million shares in a day. They were at 7 million an hour and a half, 2 hours into the day. It's been an unbelievable ride to the upside. I'll tell you what, when you look at their free cash flow as well, that's it. That's something that really does stand out. It's the problem that they've had, obviously, is they've had this hanging over them for quite some time. This has been a multi-year issue. That's finally over, and it got over a little bit quicker than people expected. So that's why we're seeing this move that it's making right now. It has a lot more room, I think, to the upside still, John, but I don't know that you have to chase it. I think you'd have to be somebody who has to be a little bit patient after a 30+% move like we're seeing today.
Yeah. This is one of those where people that had been true believers might lighten up a little bit. But other than that, I think you do have to be patient, let it come back a little, which they usually do after such an explosive move. It's already come back $1 or $2 so far today, Pete, from the pre-market highs. But I think it did clear the field, just like you said. All right, how about Soleno Therapeutics? The FDA's granted them breakthrough therapy designation for a treatment for adults and children, Pete. And I think that it's something called Prader-Willis syndrome. Not familiar with what that is, but when you get an orphan drug, which this is going to be an orphan disease, and it's treated by a drug like this, you can see a pretty huge pop out of it because there's really not a lot of competition that's come to the market with something as strong as this. And that's why they're getting this granting of this breakthrough therapy designation. That basically means, Pete, go out and sell it.
Right. Well, I'll tell you the interesting thing about what they're doing here, John. When you see what the problem is what the treatment that they're doing is they're trying to help people curb an eating disorder, essentially. They are never full. They just continue to eat and eat and eat and eat. And it's unfortunate because it really is something that can be very, very dangerous, and it becomes a real problem. So there's a lot of reasons why this is a pretty interesting thing. It was in phase 3, but now they want to fast track it. They want this on the market now because that is what this really means when you've got a breakthrough. It means we've got to get it out there. Is it safe? We're going to designate all of this. We're going to go through this as fast as possible so that people can actually start using this immediately. So this is going to be a very interesting thing. I'll tell you, up 31%, 52-week highs. You can understand all of this. I think because it's so close, John, and because it looks like they've got enough data in front of them that if it's immediately approved, when I say immediately, very rapidly approved, this really could be something worthwhile and give a lot of different, they can get the money coming into the company, because otherwise you're just burning and burning and burning, right? So that I think is going to be big. This could send this stock even higher. I'm not saying it will, but I can certainly see why it could once they get it on the market, and it's not that far away. This isn't like phase 1 and it sounds like a good idea. This isn't phase 3 and they've got another 6 months. This is phase 3 and a fast track, and that's something that we don't see very often. So this could be really great for Soleno.
Yep, I agree, and wish I owned it prior, Pete.
Oh boy,
it's a heck of a move today. And like you said, on a hell of a lot of volume too.
Yep.
I mean, normal volume for this one's only about 300,000 shares. It's traded 2.4 million shares so far today. So again, hats off to them, and I think a lot of relief from some of these patients that will be getting it sooner rather than later. All right, I know we're going to talk NBA, Pete. But before we do, I think we got to take a look at Sir Charles describing one of your favorite players, Anthony Edwards, of the Minnesota Timber Puppies. This kid is fabulous. So let's listen to Charles describe Mr. Edwards.
Watched my sons last night.
That Anthony Edwards was a grown-ass man. When Shaq said he loved
Grown-ass
Anthony Edwards,
man.
I'm like, I'm with you, Shaq. When I saw him on ESPN last night, he said, I'm just going to kill everything in front of me, man.
I just want to kill everything in front of me, man. That's the main thing. Pretty much, that's all it is to it.
It reminded me so much of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. They would kill you to win a game. It's not many players in today's game. Everybody want to be buddy-buddy. My sons, man, clearly it's over. I'm shocked they're down 3-0, but man, Anthony Edwards is letting
He looks like MJ,
know,
man.
Yeah, I'm not going to wait for y'all to give me anything. I'm going to take it all, and I love it. Man, I watched my son.
I love it too. That guy's a beast.
Jon, he's been great since he got there. He was great in college. He was the number one pick. The Timberwolves were fortunate and unfortunate. They were unfortunate. They were so bad, but they were fortunate. They were able to actually take advantage of that and grab a guy like this who's still extremely young. He's 22 years old. I mean, it's amazing. But he's got a lot of that feel of Michael Jordan and of Kobe Bryant. And I'm not trying to say he's there. I'm just saying, when you see what he does on the court, Jon, he plays both ends, just like Jordan and just like Kobe. He plays defense because he's proud. He plays offense because he loves to dunk it. He loves to shoot it. He loves to be anywhere on that court with the ball. He's got ice in his veins, and he's going to shoot the ball, and he's going to likely make it. So when you watch him and how he plays the game, boy, it does remind me when you and I were living in Chicago, and we were living together in Chicago, and we'd go to some of those Bulls games. I'll tell you what, unbelievable what this guy's accomplished, because I remember Michael and how good he was. Michael's a little bit thinner. I would say that Anthony Edwards has a little bit more bulk to his body at 6'4", but man, can he get up in the air. And you and I have seen some of the blocks, some of the stuff where he's hitting his head on the backboard and everything else. I mean, he really is special. And then you've got Cat, and then you've got Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert, they made that trade a couple years ago. A lot of people didn't really understand it. They're like, you gave away the house for Rudy. And it's like, yeah, we did. Why'd you do that? Well, because we think that we've already got what we need. We're going to get rid of these guys. Jon, they've done a magnificent job. The Timberwolves were somewhere close to the very top of the West the entire year, and they've been somewhere in the either one slot, 2 or 3, and they're behind. They were behind Denver. Denver's going to be the team they're going to have to get through. And when the time comes, can they do it? I think this year, the way they're built and the way they're playing, I think the opportunity is there. So it could be a lot of fun. They've got a guy named Jaden McDaniels that a lot of people don't really know that name, but he's outstanding. You've got an old guard named Conley that everybody looks past him because he's older and everything else. That's a mistake. Big Cat at 7 foot can still knock it down from 3-point land. And oh, by the way, my favorite guy, Jon, is a guy named Naz Reid. Naz is a 6'8" stud guy in the middle who goes in there, he'll get in his minutes, and he'll still get you like 14, 16 points, but he's going to get in there and give those guys a break. That's why he was the sixth man this year, kind of a Kevin McHale type where he likes coming off the bench. He's better coming off the bench, and that's what makes the Timberwolves pretty fun this year. They're deep. They're really fun to watch.
Yeah, they've been fun to watch. They're going to be good for ratings until, of course, people start saying, well, but they're from Minnesota, so we need somebody from this coast and that coast. No, you don't. People just look at Caitlin Clark, Pete. Yep. She played at Iowa, everybody. Which coast is Iowa on, Pete?
The Mississippi.
Broke the record for viewers for women's basketball of any sort, Olympics, pro, college, everything. She broke all those records. And so I don't think you got to be on the coasts to get people to watch. If you got a talented player, they'll tune in.
Yeah, people want to watch guys like Anthony Edwards. People want to watch guys like Kevin Durant, who, by the way, couldn't say enough good things about this kid, Anthony Edwards, Jon. They interviewed him after the game, and they were talking smack to each other the whole game, every game that they played, all 4, because they only had to play 4 because the Timberwolves won 4-0. But
yeah, swept them.
But Kevin Durant, what a class act the guy is, Jon. I mean, he literally was like, you know what? I've never seen anything like it. This guy is the best player. He goes, he's the one guy I want to watch when I'm watching TV. I want to watch Anthony Edwards. And it's like, Can you get better praise than that from a guy who's that good, who's in the NBA, who's, at the tail of his career, but he's been amazing for all these years, a 7-foot guy who can run the court and shoot threes. I would say when you get a guy like that who likes you and thinks your game is damn good, I would say your game is pretty damn good. How about the draft, John? So I figured I'd just ask you a couple of things about it because there was a lot of ups and downs. Some people think this team did great, this team did poorly and everything. And I understand, everybody wants to kind of grade it. So I figured I'd just at least throw out to you who I thought really did well. And my team, Philadelphia, was one. They did a great job. They took a couple cornerbacks. You can never have enough good corners because everybody has receivers, right? Best draft for receivers. Now you've got the corners. They did that. They also picked up a running back, Shipley from Clemson. They also picked up a linebacker from Clemson. But the Arizona Cardinals actually did some good things, John, which is really rare. But Marvin Harrison Jr., who's the best receiver in the entire draft in a very deep receiver draft. They got Darius Robinson. He's the kid you and I talked about from Missouri, the big defensive end who's edge rusher. He is a baller. And all these other edge rushers are like 250 pounds. He's 285. But he can still run like a deer and get around. And, oh, by the way, he was an SEC because that's where Missouri plays. And this kid stood out all year long. You pointed him out a couple times. So did I. Trey Benson, the Florida State running back they got. Illinois had an offensive tackle and a tight end who are pretty much freak shows in their own right. They're really good, strong players, Big Ten guys. I think Arizona did really well. Who did you think really kind of either crushed it or missed it?
Well, time will tell as to whether or not the Bears, taking Caleb with number one, if that was the right move. I'll let the kid show me. I haven't liked some of the things he's done, like a lot of people haven't liked, not releasing the medical records and, painting his fingernails and things like that. There are some things here that are sort of red flags, Pete. Yeah. But we'll see. Maybe he can play that. He's got a great wide receiver because Oduze from Washington is one hell of a great receiver. Might not be Harrison, but he ain't far from it, Pete. No. He is good. Mm-hmm. Those two kids from LSU are good. So I think any of those four, you'd be happy to have them on your team. The joke of the whole thing really was Atlanta. I don't know what you do spending $100 mil guaranteed for Kirk Cousins, Pete, and then you take Penix. Why?
I'm the one guy who. Go ahead.
Well, because what? Is he an insurance policy against Cousins getting hurt again, Pete? Is that the deal? Is that why you take him? Because otherwise, why would you do that instead of getting him one of those receivers or a big offensive lineman?
I'll push back just a little bit on that one. So here was my assessment of it. Now, I'm just assessing it as a guy looking at the Atlanta Falcons and don't have any opinion, except for this. They haven't had a quarterback in Atlanta since the quarterback they had for about 10 years, right? The kid out of Boston College. But since that, they haven't had anybody, John. There's nobody on their roster anymore. I mean, Mariota's long gone. He was a big bust overall. And I think what makes it interesting for me is this. So you get a veteran quarterback who's 35 years old, about to turn 36. They gave him all this money. I didn't agree with the money that they gave him, number one, but they did it. And they've got the money to do it. Let's be honest. I mean, Arthur Blank can write a check to anybody he wants. Home Depot, for God's sakes, the guy. So forget the money side of it. So he goes out and gets a really good quarterback. But here's the problem. He got a quarterback that hasn't been on the field since he snapped his Achilles, right? So maybe he's good, and maybe they've wasted their money on him. But even if he's healthy, how long is he going to be healthy, and how much longer does he play? I'm going to say he plays maybe 2 years based on his age and everything else, and he could get hurt and everything. If that's the case, at any point between that time that camp starts this year and 2 years from now, you've got a quarterback who can actually quarterback the team and get you there. You already got a running back. Bijan Robinson is a stud from Texas, right? You got Pitts, who's a tight end, who's absolutely a freak show, but nobody's been there to throw him the ball. John, they haven't had who their quarterback is? I think it's Tyler Heineke or something like that. I mean, it's all these afterthought guys are their quarterbacks. So should they have maybe taken a lineman? Maybe, but they got a pretty decent offensive line, actually. They got a pretty decent defense. Their weakness has been quarterback. So they just said, we're all in on quarterbacks. And they got some receivers. They've got Drake out there, and they've got a few other guys out there. I mean, they've got enough talent, but they have nobody to throw them the ball. So I'm not here just to defend him, but I can sort of see, like, you're looking at a guy who you and I both would say he's kind of a franchise quarterback, and you got him at number 8. And, you and I both know you only have to pay him so much those first 4 or 5 years, right? Rookie contract. So I don't think it was as bad as everybody else. I think you make a good argument because everybody else's argument is the same against me on this one, but I kind of see the other side of it as well. So we'll see how that one unfolds.
Well, I did like, Pete, I'll say this just real quick. I think San Francisco, everybody pointed to the fact that now Mahomes has got this speed freak to throw it to, if you will, Tyreek Hill 2.0. Yeah, he does. And yeah, that's a problem. I agree because the guy can blow by people. Right. But, that wide receiver from Florida that you just got from over at San Francisco, that kid's a hell of a player, Pete. I've watched him play. I think he fits their system perfectly. And you have McCaffrey. And, I just think that was a great pick at that spot for San Francisco. Don't know about the rest of the draft as much, but I thought that one showed that they really just want to be that offensive team. They're loaded on defense. Yeah, they lost a guy, but they'll be able to plug and play another guy into that spot. I think this wide receiver is special.
You know what I liked? One team that I kind of liked just how they approached it, and they've got a new coach and everything in New England, John. So they take Drake May. We all knew who the first 3 picks were going to be, and they were exactly what we thought. And then we got deep into quarterbacks. You got 6 in the first 13 or whatever it was, and however many offensive players in the first round before you got to defense. So now all of a sudden you're getting guys like the Vikings. They got the best defensive end edge rusher in the draft, and they got him at number 10. So that was a damn good thing for them, Alabama kid. But how about Joe Milton? I liked the idea of you went out and you get Drake May, and then you go out and say, you know what? Maybe he's a bust, maybe not. We really don't know. So we don't think so, but that's why we took him where we did. But they take him in the 3rd pick, and then all of a sudden you get Joe Milton in the middle of the 6th round. I don't know. I thought that was genius. Why not? That kid at Tennessee, he was damn good at Michigan, but knew his days were numbered. He did a really nice job, I thought, down in Tennessee. He's big as a house. He can throw the ball as good as anybody. But, for whatever reasons, I mean, maybe there are legitimate reasons why he wasn't that highly rated top 10 type guy. But I'll tell you what, John, you and I have seen that guy throw the football, and he's got the ability. And I saw games in the SEC where he looked as good as anybody else out there, if not better. And so I just like the fact, why not take a shot on a guy middle of the 6th round that potentially, maybe at some point, might even have been a first rounder. And for whatever reason, he wasn't, and just went all the way down to 6.
Yeah, and you basically got him for a bag of balls, Pete.
No.
I mean, 6th round, that's what the Bears got from the Steelers for Justin Fields.
Right.
I mean, 6th round. Again, I would have been proud to have been drafted. I was not. I was free agent. So it's not me saying 6th round players aren't good. They were better than me. They're still better than me. But it's a bag of balls.
Yeah.
It is not those highly touted players that are coming in. On the other hand, there's a guy named Brock Purdy that's playing out in San Francisco that was Mr. Irrelevant, and they got him with the very last pick in the draft.
Yeah.
So is it dumb to take this guy? And or could you deal one of those two if they both have a good training camp? Obviously, they're not thinking that way, but if one of them just stands out And, they're all thinking, of course, it's Drake May. He's a beast.
Yeah.
But if indeed Drake May, doesn't shine the way they think he will, and all of a sudden it's Milton, they're not going to look too dumb picking that guy up in the 6th round.
I agree. Yeah, it's always fun. We could go on and on. We did 2 hours of sports radio yesterday, Jon, and I tell you, no matter what path we took, we came right back to the draft. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Well, we appreciate all of you tuning in, of course, folks. Because of that Charles Barkley clip, we sort of jumped ahead of ourselves with the Timber Puppies. And I'll keep calling them that if they keep winning like this, Pete, because maybe it's good luck for them. That is a great team, and they're fun to watch.
Yep.
But we appreciate all of you joining us. We want to remind you yet again, that we've got that book, It's Not an Option. If you go to the website, itsnotanoption.com, you can get this book for free. You can claim it for free, even the shipping, unless you want it really fast. If you want it really fast, just like Xavier, you're going to have to pay for it. But we appreciate you joining us. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. See you then.